This clip is a demonstration of good practice for step 1 about ending the session. The competencies for ending the session are to summarise the main family member issues, talk about the use of the self-help handbook and if there's any risks about taking the handbook home, checking the session was helpful, and also giving the purpose of the next session, step 2. And it's clarifying what information might be needed for step 2 so that you can be as prepared as possible with that information need so that it is targeted. There are also the normal practical issues of contact and the date of the next session. So as with the introduction, the contents being similar throughout the steps, the ending is also similar across all the steps. So this is the session with the same counsellor, practitioner, Ed, and me as the family member.
Okay, Joe, we talked about an awful lot here today. Would it be okay with you if I just put back some of the key things I heard you say today?
Yep, yes.
This really is the first step in it. And next week when we come back, we'll be looking at information. But what I heard you talk about was Jane's drug use. You're not sure what she's taking. You know something's not right. The worry, it doesn't let up for you, and it's starting to affect your health, your sleep, physically, your pains in your stomach, and it's something that you can't talk to your husband about. Richard doesn't say it, but Mark does, and he's getting angry. So it's also affecting relationships in the family. So this has been a really stressful time for you all. And am I picking that up right? Is there anything I missed?
No, I think you're right. I think I just feel a bit at sea because I don't know, what she's doing or why she's doing it. And then this added strain of that, Richard doesn't really seem to understand and thinks it's just a passing phase. And then these issues between her and her brother, he's getting quite angry. So, yeah, I just feel a bit lost in it and worried and not sleeping.
Yeah. And Joe, I can't tell you how common that is for family members. When people don't see it in a similar way, people feel very alone and very confused. Well, what do I do with all this? So today, talking about it, putting that on the table sets the stage for what we're going to do over the coming weeks, looking at information, how you tend to cope. Are there other ways you could cope and support that's there for you? So that was a good start to, I think, what I'm hoping is going to be helpful for you.
Yeah, has been helpful.
Okay. Could I just check a couple of things because we set the stage for next week's work? Is 2:00 okay for you again next week?
Yeah, that'll be good.
Well, a couple of things. If you do need to contact me, you have my phone number. Okay. And if I need to change anything with yourself, is it okay to ring the number I have for you?
Yeah, I think, or just send me a text. That's most.
A text would be better.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we've got to make sure that you're safe in all this. Now, you do have the handbook. Is that okay to bring home with you? Would it cause any conflict at home if your daughter saw it?
No, that's fine.
Okay. All right. So you feel more than okay taking it home and
well, I tend to just you sent it to me. I'll just look at the electronic version.
Okay, so you can keep it on your computer. Okay, that's really good. So, Joe, good first step. How you feeling now?
Yeah, I feel a bit wrung out, but I haven't really talked to anybody about it particularly. So yeah, I feel a bit emotionally drained.
Okay, and that's very common to family members. Like you said, this is the first time you've talked about this in this kind of detail. So it's maybe important to think about, as you finish today's session, you said you're drained. What are you going to do now to get your head, in a better place? Anything you plan for the rest of the day?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. I think actually I'll go for a breath of fresh air. I think I'll do a walk around the park at the top of the road, and that will clear my head. That's a good idea. Yeah.
So a bit of me time, bit of fresh air, and then you could put what we talked about aside.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Jill, like I said, a lot of courage today, and you're saying you found it helpful. Good. Like, I'm really looking forward to seeing you next week. Start to think about step 2. What information is going to help me understand this? You may want to look at the handbook that I gave you. That might stretch your thinking a little bit, and then we'll pick this up next week.
Yeah, it would be, I think, I feel a bit at sea with the, I don't know what she's taking, whether I need to know, I don't know. And I don't know, why is she doing this? Why? I mean, it feels to me like she's become dependent on it, and she seems such a level-headed person. So I don't know why she's doing it. I mean, is it something to do with her upbringing, or what? I mean, she seems all right to us, and then all of a sudden, she's just acting in weird ways, and I'm worried, like, where's she getting the money from? And
Okay.
I don't even know whether it's best to, how much to say anything to her.
Okay. What you just said was such a common, concern for family members. Am I to blame? Why am my daughter is looking at you? And you're setting the stage for what we might be able to look at next week. If we, like you said, you don't know what drug she's taken. So if we take a broad look at drugs, what different drugs do, signs and symptoms, things like that. You ask questions: where's she getting the money for it? All concerns that you have. Is she getting herself into bother with it? So if we start looking at drugs, that might be one thing you might find helpful, and you may find some other questions you'd like answered. Not going to say I'll have all the answers, but we can point you to where you might be able to get that information.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
how's that sound?
Yeah, that'll be good.
Okay, well, enjoy that walk, and then we'll see you next week.
Okay, all right, thank you. So let's now review the ending session and what Ed did. So he certainly summarised the family member issues very well. I felt he had listened to me and he checked them out with me. He talked about the handbook, and he also checked about the risk of it being taken back home. And of course, I mentioned now that I'll be using it on screen, so it's helpful to check with people about this. And clearly, I had found the session very helpful. There was also an introduction to step 2 and clarifying what information needs there might be. And it's really important to do this in quite a lot of detail so that he can be prepared for the next step, and also the family member is prepared. The date of the next meeting was checked and the time. And an extra thing that Ed did is that he made me feel very calm at the end of the session, and this was really nice. He checked out what I was going to be doing, and I think when you look at the roundtable discussion, Richard there very nicely describes that you've unpacked a lot of things in step 1, and you sort of need to repackage it back up so that the family member can go out from the session, which is often very emotional for them, go out into the wider world and get back on with their life. And I thought Ed did this very well. So I hope that's giving you tips and hints for how to end the session.